guys, how you doing today? You ready to learn? Let's get into it. The first thing I want to say is hi. I'm so sorry. My life for the last 2 weeks have been really crazy. I learned how to crochet. My best friend taught me how to crochet, and I didn't stop crocheting from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed. 0 breaks for 2 months. So my left hand is numb. As you can see, they put me in a cast. I don't know what it's doing. It's literally doing nothing, but listen, I'm not a doctor. So yeah, life's been kind of hard lately, but that's no excuse. That's completely on me. I'm very sorry. Videos will be coming out. Have no fear. But enough excuses. Let's get started with foolishness. So today we are going to Italy. I love Italy. Love pasta. And we are going to be talking about one of my favorite homeboys of ancient Rome, Julius Caesar. Now, before I get into his early life, I want to talk about something so crazy. So I've been taking Latin at my university for the last 3 years, right? So cool. And I didn't know this until I took this class. Caesar is not how you say that nigga's name. It's Kaiser, which when I heard it, I was like, Germany? But then I was like, oh my God, Germany. But then I was like,
oh my God, Germany.
which no shade, Germany. Love it. But that's kind of cool, but it's not. But it is, because it's oh my God. And then you take a step back, and then you look at more than just Germany. Caesar. Look at all that Caesar did that we're going to get into. And then you see how what he did changed low-key the entire world. And then you see how that's impacted things. So Caesar, you have Germany with Kaiser, right? Then you have over in Russia, the Tsar. Every single Roman emperor that came about after his death was called the Caesar. So early life. When Caesar was a child, the very first Roman civil war was breaking out between Marius and Sulla. The issue was Mithridates of Pontus to the east was, getting a little rowdy, and the Senate wanted to send Sulla to go take care of it, but the people wanted to send Marius. So they were fighting over who to send instead of just sending them both, and I don't know, life being great. And Caesar's father, also named Gaius Julius Caesar, had to pick a side because Marius was, in fact, his uncle by marriage. And his mother, Aurelia Cotta, her family, her also a noble family, were Marius sympathizers. Fun fact about the Julius clan. Julius clan? No. Julii. I don't know either. Their lineage is supposedly traced back all the way to the Roman goddess Venus, who is their version of Aphrodite, through the bloodline of Aeneas from the Aeneid in the Trojan War. So we got, 15 generation demigods? I don't know. But either way, to strengthen this alliance that his father had gotten with Marius, he decided that he was going to marry Julius to one of Marius's right-hand man's daughters. So a confidant of Marius was this guy named Cinna, not Lenny Kravitz, just a regular old white man, and he had a daughter named Cornelia. So a way for Julius Caesar the Older to prove his loyalty to Marius, he was like, all right, I'll wed my son to his daughter and we'll all be one big happy family, right? Wrong. Because that nigga Marius didn't even win. He lost. Sulla killed him, took over, but he came back. Sulla was like, I'm gonna be dictator. What the fuck? For 3 months to fix shit around here. But prior to all that, before they even came head to head, Marius and Sulla, Gaius Julius Caesar the Older didn't even get up and go to battle with Marius. He expressed his support, he married Julius, that guy's daughter, but he didn't actually go and fight with him. Why? Because when Caesar was 16, his dad just died. In the middle of the war. And so when Marius was like, all right, so you're gonna come fight with us, right, Julius? He was like, no,
I'm not.
And then everything happened. Sulla came to his family and was like, I understand you're the new head. Your father's choice was your father's choice. Now it's time for you to make a choice. You can either live freely and divorce this woman or else. And Caesar picked or else. Sulla took his priesthood and his inheritance, and he had to flee Rome for almost 10 years until his homegirls, who were the Vestal Virgins, which is why are your homegirls the Vestal Virgins? The Vestal Virgins were priestesses of Vesta, who is the Roman counterpart for Hestia, goddess of the hearth, home, long-term, eternal fire, all that fun stuff. They persuaded Sulla to let him come back into Rome and to let him live a regular ass life. So he agreed, and Caesar came back. When he came back, he began his military career and became a soldier. He served in Asia and he served in Cilicia, which is modern-day Turkey, but hold on. In 75 BCE, he was kidnapped by pirates, right? And the pirates were like, we'll let you go for like 20 talents. And Caesar was like, are you saying I'm worthless? And demanded his ransom be raised. And he literally was like bossing these pirates around on this shit, telling them what to do. If their jokes were trash, he would tell them they're trash and shush them. Crazy. So when they came back with the higher ransom and they were like, here, we're gonna take him back, thank you. Caesar turned right around, ambushed them in the sea, took them hostage, took control of their ships, got his money back, slit their throats, and then crucified them. Goodness gracious. But this is where things are gonna get good. Things are gonna get spicy. So in 60 BCE, the first triumvirate was formed, and it was between Julius Caesar, Marcus Licinius Crassus, and Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus, also known as Pompey the Great. Okay, so they formed this alliance to kind of bypass control of the Senate and raise to the top, to be like the top people that rule over Rome in general, because they all wanted some kind of power. Caesar wanted consulship in Gaul, Pompey wanted more land for war veterans, and Crassus simply wanted military glory. So while he was in the Senate, he did still go on military conquest because he was still good at what he did, which is why we have the Gallic Wars between 58 and 50 BCE. So Gaul, right, is modern day France and Belgium, so north of Italy, right? And this is literally like, I don't know, early Germans, low-key. Spartacus portrayed them that way. I don't really know. But it was just a really big land that was really like unclaimed mostly by like architectural civilization. So it was just a band of tribes everywhere living amongst each other. But the issue was they would always come down and raid northern Italian villages, and so that would obviously be a problem. In 52 BCE, the Battle of Alesia ensued, in which Caesar went up to Gaul to defeat the like leader. This man got all these Gallic tribes under one like common accord named Vercingetorix. That's a name. He made sure to get all of his men into one big area, Vercingetorix men, and then boxed them in by building some kind of wall. And then they were like, okay, that's kind of weird, but like we still have space. No, you don't. He built another wall and starved them out until Vercingetorix came out and was like, all right, all right, big dog, you win, but don't let my men starve. And so that was that. And didn't just like help the northern tribes survive, it also moved all these people out of the way and allowed for Roman expansion into Britannia. But here's the thing, here's the thing. Who knows what it could have like turned into? Could have been a second Spartacus for all we know. He went and he did this for the good of Rome, for the good of the empire, right? I keep saying empire. For the good of Rome, right? But he did it without getting the Senate's like wholehearted approval. He just knew that it had to be done and the Senate was taking too long, so I think it was that important, right? So Pompey at this point is really, really upset because Caesar is getting more notoriety than him or Crassus, which was not a part of the deal. So he got in the Senate's ear and was like, you see how he disobeyed you? I would never do something like that. Send me to put him at heel. Right, okay. So Pompey wrote Caesar a letter that ordered him to disband his army and return to Rome as a fugitive and await trial. Would that trial be fair?
Obviously not, it wouldn't be fair.
So now Caesar had a decision. And coming back into Italy from Gaul, there was a small river, it's called the Rubicon. It's actually a saying. And the thing was, if you cross this river back into Italy with the army not already sanctioned and pardoned and approved by the Senate, you are literally announcing war. And you're marching and being like, yeah, this army's coming to get Rome. That may not even be your whole point, but that's just what the rules were. So Caesar was like, okay, I can either go back to Rome by myself and very much be killed, or I can go back to Rome with my army and say I defeated the Gauls for y'all and get the people's support. Because with the people's support, you can do literally anything at this point. And he infamously said, Alea iactest, which means the die is cast, and cross the Rubicon. And the saying I mentioned is just that, crossing the Rubicon. Because once you cross the Rubicon, you can't turn around and be like, oops, just kidding, I'm not declaring war. No, it's a point of no return. No Gerard Butler. He did what he did and he marched his way back into Rome with all of his homeboys. This didn't work at all because then Pompey came back with his armies and they had a battle Literally, I'm being so serious, around the Mediterranean. Pompey was defeated in Italy. Okay. Then he fled to Greece. It was defeated in Greece. Then he fled to Egypt, trying to get out from the boy King Ptolemy the 14th, I think, who was already in his own civil war with his sister wife Cleopatra, which, Lord have mercy. But when he got there, Pompey was assassinated by Ptolemy, and Ptolemy was like, okay, I killed him for you, now you have to stay here and help me. He was literally kidnapped in Egypt and couldn't leave, like, for months. But Cleopatra made her way in there, literally in a rug, okay, and they worked together, threw out Ptolemy, installed Cleopatra as queen, had an affair, had a son named Caesarion, and that was that. While he was in Egypt, he got a letter from, I think, Mark Antony, who was like, listen bruh, Pompey's dead, you're not here, Crassus, I don't even know what he's doing, like, you need to come back, like, Rome is not where it needs to be right now. And you know what? You wanna know where Crassus was? He decided that he was gonna go and try to get some more military campaigns under his belt, okay? And so he was like, Senate, let me go out east to the Persian Empire. Why the fuck would you ever want to do that? Well, that was a bloodbath. His troops were absolutely slaughtered, no mercy. He was kidnapped, held for ransom, but they knew that he was super rich, and they knew that he was overly ambitious and overly greedy. So what did they do? They melted down gold. Oh my god. They melted down gold, molten gold, and poured it down his throat to symbolize that nigga's greed. What are we even talking about anymore, you know? Caesar has to come back. Cleopatra is like, leave if you want to, but like, you know, I'll still be here. So when he came back in 49 BCE, he realized so many things were wrong. His legions in Rome that he left there when he went to Egypt, literally mutiny. Killing each other, fighting each other, too much. Then, because he left literally a frat boy meathead, Mark Antony, in charge of running Rome. Mark Antony running Rome. Right, okay. He wasn't built for that, and he knew that. That's why he was in the military. So he was drunk all the time, he slept with everybody and their mama, and he always clashed with the Senate because he didn't know how to rule. So when he came back, he did literally exactly what Sulla did times 35. Sulla was only dictator for like 3 months, right? Caesar came back and was like, y'all don't even know what's going on. The calendar, guys, when he came back from Egypt, the calendar was off by 3 months. 3 months! So he fixed this by changing it from a lunar calendar to a solar calendar, because initially there was only 355 days in a year, right? But the issue was the people that ruled the lunar calendar, pontiffs, they would like change the dates based on political strategy, which is crazy. Because what do you mean yesterday was Monday, but today is also Monday because something must have more bro in the back? What day is it today? Which also meant the seasons were messed up and crops were not planted on time, which led to famine. So he brought Sosigenus of Alexandria, Egypt, to Rome to make it a solar year, meaning it was now 365.25 days a year. 365 we already have. That 0.25 is why we have the leap year, because 0.25 is what, 1/4. And he added July because he's Julius Caesar. Of course he did. Fun fact, August, month of my birthday. August is named after his nephew, Augustus, the first emperor. In order to implement this though, so it can go smoothly, there was a weird year. It was called the Year of Confusion. It was 46 BCE, and that year had 445 days. Just so this new implementation could work and restart from when it was supposed to be. And you know what? This literally still exists today. Thank you, Caesar, for helping us. If he hadn't done that, today may have been, who knows, January 42nd. Like, but not only did he do that, he did what Pompey wanted, and he gave veterans land, right? He also made getting a Roman citizenship a lot more easier considering how big the empire was growing. And he centralized bureaucracy, which essentially put the Senate on the back burner. Them motherfuckers ain't like that shit. And a lot of resentment grew amongst the senators because they were just like, I think he's trying to become king. And Rome hadn't had kings in years, like over 100 years at this point. So they were like, oh hell no. We don't do kings. Not around here, partner. We don't do kings. And he had a personal rivalry with Cassius and Brutus. This is something about Brutus, okay? Brutus, et tu, Brute. I thought that Brutus was like his homeboy or like a lover, you know, we are in Rome, when I was first learning about this guy when I was like 10 years old, right? And then when I got older and figured out who Brutus was, Brutus is the son of this woman named Servilia, right? Who the fuck is Servilia? Servilia was Caesar's mistress, homegirl, fuck toy, best friend, whatever you want to call it, for over 20 years. Brutus's father died when Brutus was like 4 or 5 years old. So basically, when Brutus thinks of a father figure in his life, he's looking at Caesar, and Caesar is looking at him as a son, because Caesar ain't had no sons. But here's the thing, all these senators were talking behind his back being like, we have to get him out of here, he's dangerous. Was he dangerous? No. He was getting all the glory, synonymous to these men. And so they were trying to figure out under what guise could they get him out. Well, unfortunately for Caesar, but good for them, well, Lord have mercy. Caesar, I guess, was giving some kind of speech in the Senate floor. Everyone was there and everyone was here watching him being like, okay,
Yeah, bro, we're gonna listen to you. We don't really care.
until Caesar is in the middle of speaking and he stops speaking. And he looks around dazed, a little bit confused for a second. And then he collapses to the floor and has a seizure. Look me dead in my face and tell me that you think these men out here in ancient Rome know what a seizure is. No idea. No idea. So they're watching this man who's done all these powerful things in the last 20 years suddenly on the floor, foaming at the mouth, doing what he's doing. So they're just like,
What is that? He's weak. Guys.
so all the senators that were sat there who were like, I don't really know, I'm kind of uneasy, Caesar is doing a good thing, I don't really see why he shouldn't be in power. That just told them why they shouldn't be in power. They don't know what that is, but that left him incapacitated for like a week and a half at best. So they saw him now as weakness, because now it's just like, okay, we've never seen this before, but now we've seen it. How often is this gonna happen? How often could this happen? Like, what does this mean? Now we really have a proper reason to get him out of here. And in 44 BCE, Julius Caesar was brought onto the Senate floor and was attacked and stabbed 23 times. Literally, his fucking stepchild, Brutus, comes up and deals the final fatal blow, which is where we get the scene et tu, Brute from. That's crazy. Little nigga, I raised you. I brought you in the Senate. You're here because of me. You're a fucking Nepo baby. And you kill me? So this is kind of when shit hits the fan. Because for some reason, these senators thought that the people of Rome weren't benefiting from things that Caesar was doing, when he literally was like making life better, giving everybody money, giving everybody food, giving people things to do to work. And he's also commissioned a bunch of like statues to be built, market squares. So people were getting jobs. The economy was boosting. But these people, these arrogant, egotistical ass people, they were just like,
We're not happy, so obviously the people are happy.
they thought the Republic would look at them as heroes. The Republic was like, why would you do that? What are we going to do now? So Mark Antony, his right-hand man, moved quickly and was like, listen, I was his most trusted confidant and the closest thing he has to family right now. So give me control over all his assets, all his wills. I'll make sure everything is done properly and y'all will be fine. The Senate was like, okay, we trust you. So they gave Mark Antony all his stuff. In his will, Caesar left all the money that he accumulated and had a portion of all his money to every single Roman citizen. We need him in the White House. Because what's happening right now, please? He left his gardens, and people can come into the gardens, see the extravagance, experience it, because it's just plants that should be free to people. He was a man of the people. The ancient Princess Diana, and they're both blonde. Like, oh my god. And most importantly, he named his great nephew, right, Octavian, to be his adopted son and heir. A role that was initially meant for Brutus. I literally will never get over it. That's like top 10 betrayals, because bro, I literally raised you. I was gonna give you everything I built, but then you did this. And then after all of that was taken care of, Antony sure did go back on his promise. He sure did. He sent his troops out and said,
Go find the Senate.
told the people,
Go find the Senate.
because they just killed Caesar. This man that could give you money and access to greatness, these people killed him because they were afraid of what he was doing. They wouldn't get any of the shine, so they killed him. Go find them. They went to work. They went and found those senators. There were still some people who were like, Caesar is doing a great job right now. We don't need to be killing him. Those people banded together behind Octavian to make sure that he was ready for everything that was going to go down right now. Because the shift from Caesar dying, being dictator, right, to now Octavian being an heir is something resembling the age of monarchy in Rome, but not completely. And then the Senate also at the same time trying to push back because they want the Republic. They don't want the Empire. They want the Republic. Octavian was like, all right, my turn. Raised his own army from all the veterans that Caesar went and gave land because this was his great nephew. This is the guy that Caesar is like, I want y'all to follow him when I'm gone. So they said, I got you. We got you. It's fine. But then Mark Antony was like, well, hold on. I'm his homeboy. I kind of think they were lovers. It's Rome, okay? Like, it's Rome. So Mark Antony was like, I was his right-hand man. Y'all should also be rallying behind me. I also need some kind of support. And the veterans were just like, okay, yeah, well, we support you too, but this is for the betterment of the empire. We need to make sure that Octavian is ready to be an emperor. And Mark Antony was like, yeah, but you can also be more on my side too. And now the Senate is looking around like, okay, wait a minute. Because Mark Antony, he had his time to prove he could be in power, and he could not do that at all. But now that there's someone else chosen also by Caesar, it's an issue. Jelly Belly, what are you doing? So the Senate, led by Cicero, new Senate, they were really suspicious over the power that Mark Antony got after Caesar's death, and was like, I don't know if we should like let this guy stay loose. We should go see what Octavian's talking about. And they went to go put support behind Octavian. But at this time also, Cicero, he's messy. He had a set of speeches, right? It was called the Philippics. And in these speeches, he literally was calling Mark Antony everything but a child of God, okay? Child of Zeus, if you will. Well, we are in Rome. Everything but a child of Jupiter, okay? But the main thing that really stuck was when he called him a tyrant. A tyrant was like the worst thing you could be called. You call somebody a bitch. You call somebody a pussy. That's fine. A tyrant?
Don't call me no motherfucking tyrant, okay?
So that was a whole issue already. And then the Senate declared Mark Antony an enemy of the state, leading to the Battle of Mutina in 43 BCE. So Octavian went, fought Mark because he was like, the Senate wants me to do this. You're an enemy of the state. They're probably right? Because he's like 17, 18 right now. But after he goes and fights them and he wins, and it's not a lot of notoriety, it's more like, okay, cool, finally. Let's get back to this public business.
Republic?
That's when Octavian realized the Senate wanted to use him as some kind of doodle fuck puppet regime. So he was like, oh, I see. And he went and he made peace with Mark Antony. We love growth, emotional maturity, communication. Love to see it. After all this, Mark Antony and Octavian teamed up to take the Senate away from Rome. They were over it. They realized it was too corrupt. It could not be fixed. They had to be rooted out. They rounded up all of the members that killed Caesar. They even killed Cicero. Cut his head off, cut his hands off, and like had it on display at the forum. It was crazy. Octavian, Antony, and Marcus Lepidus formed the second triumvirate, okay? And when they did this, that's when they all came together and did all the rounding up and the killing and Cicero not having any hands for some reason. Wow. But also while this is happening, Brutus and Cassius, right? They fled Rome, obviously, and they went east, and they got their armies together and prepared for a siege. No, retaliation really, which led to the Battle of Philippi in 42 BCE. Now, here, there were two battles essentially. After the first battle, which honestly, they could have probably still won, but Cassius thought they'd already lost prematurely, so he killed himself. Okay, and then in the second battle, his second loss, Brutus was like, yeah, this is not working out for me, and I don't trust y'all gonna be nice to me if y'all capture me, so yeah. And he killed himself too. After all this, all the territories were now divided up in between the three guys. Mark Antony got the east, so Greece, Asia, and Egypt. Octavian got the west, Italy, Gaul, and Spain. And Lepidus got Africa. Lepidus was obviously pushed aside because right now Rome was not really concerned with Africa, because Africa to them was like Egypt and then just desert. But Mark Antony and Octavian were now fighting for more power because obviously you're a man, it's ancient Rome, you obviously want more than already what you have. It's like in their blood, it's like weird. And Mark Antony decided, well, I'm gonna go get my homeboy's baby mama for her help. That's insane. And he went to Egypt to try to get up from Cleopatra, but Cleopatra was like, ooh.
I like the way that your nose curved too.
What? And then they started having an affair. Octavian then launched a propaganda war saying that Mark was now once again a traitor enemy of the state for getting in the bed with Cleopatra. And the Senate declared war on Cleopatra, not Mark Antony. So she would get mad at him being like,
I'm not even involved in this shit. But you came here and now they got war against me. I'm not part of your bullshit, bro.
But in the final battle of Actium, okay, in 31 BCE, it was just off the coast of Greece. Octavian's general, Agrippa, go watch Domino on MGM+. Guys, defeated Antony and Cleopatra's forces. Antony and Cleopatra left Greece and fled right back to Egypt, where they committed then a double suicide. And now in 27 BCE, Octavian is the sole ruler of everything under Rome. And at this point, he finally took the title of Augustus, the very first Roman emperor. And the Roman Republic was officially dead. Wasn't that some shit? Rome is such an interesting place. Founded by Romulus, who had to kill his brother first, but in the beginning they were twins, abandoned, raised by a she-wolf. Huh? Sure. And then it transformed into what we see now. Going from believing in Roman mythology, being polytheistic, then Jesus happened. Even after him, they were still polytheistic for a little bit, but then Christianity started spreading around, it started coming into the empire, and the emperors were like, hey, this is kind of cool. Then one emperor got baptized, then one guy came in and was like, we still want the gods, right guys? Maybe it's just me. He got killed, and Christianity continue until we have what we have right now. Like, it's so crazy. But not only that, when Christianity became the focal point of the Roman Empire, this part of the Roman Empire like fell essentially because now it was Catholicism, obviously. But the western part, right? The western part of the Roman Empire, after the eastern part fell, became the Byzantine Empire. That's crazy. Like, I knew what the Byzantine Empire was. I knew what it was. Like, I knew the people that ruled it. I knew all the stuff that happened, but I never really knew for real how it started. It's just the portion of the Roman Empire that didn't fall to Christianity. Are you serious? Are you serious? Like, I find that so interesting. What do you think of today's video? If you were in this time and you had the option to be Julius Caesar, right? Granted, like, you do everything that he does, go through everything that he went through. Would you have come back from Egypt and declared dictorum, or would you have just been like, okay, things are not right, this needs to be fixed. I understand I've been gone, but this needs to be fixed because you are not doing shit. Mark, you fucked up, but it's like, we can fix this together, forever. Teamwork. Because I feel like, obviously, him stepping inside his coffin was declaring dictorum for life. 100%. That title is an actual title because Sulla has used it, but it was only meant for a monthly span. 3 months was okay. That's why nobody killed Sulla over that, because 3 months was okay. I'm in control solely for 3 months, but after 3 months, you guys can have all the power back. When Caesar said for life, it was like,
So am I unemployed?
I think that decision was him getting in his coffin. Nailing the coffin shut was that seizure. Obviously, I know he couldn't have controlled that, but we're in ancient Rome. You can die from literally anything and because of anything as well. Like, it's just a lot. I love learning about these old time periods, but like, if I had the choice to live in them, no ma'am. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys really enjoyed today's video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.